Welcome to our Friday's Media Forum. And for today, we have with us Dr. Nina Gloriani. She is the head of our Vaccine Development Expert Panel of the Department of Science and Technology para makapagbigay po siya ng latest developments ng vaccine trial. Dr. Nina?
Few updates on the COVID-19 vaccine trials here. This is from the Vaccine Expert Panel of the Department of Science and Technology. So just to refresh everyone, I'll give you some steps in the vaccine development. So there are about 10 of them. So the first one is that we recognize the disease as a distinct entity. And of course, we are talking about COVID-19 here. We identify the etiologic agent. There's a lot of information now as to the characteristics, the properties of this SARS-CoV-2 virus. They have to be grown in the laboratory in order for us to use them for vaccines. And there are ways to establish animal models for the disease. Well, right now for COVID-19, there is no specific animal model, but they are using marmosets and ferrets, and of course, the rhesus macaques or the non-human primates for the challenge studies. The rabbits are usually used for immunologic tests. And then we have to identify immunologic correlates for immunity to the disease, usually using serum antibody, but we also have to use T cells for the T cell memory part of the immune response. Then after that, if we know which vaccine candidate we want to work on, we have either to use to inactivate or weaken, attenuate the agent in the laboratory, or use only portions of the virus. So just very specific antigens like what has been used for many of these platforms we have here is specifically the spike proteins. Then we evaluate the candidate vaccines for safety, immunogenicity, and efficacy from the preclinical development in the laboratory and using animals to the clinical trials in humans. And we must not forget that we also have to prepare the candidate vaccines following good manufacturing procedures. Okay, so what I'm showing here right now are 11 vaccine candidates in phase 3 trials as of November 12, 2020. Out of the 11, 5 vaccine companies have filed clinical trial applications in the Philippines. These are Clover, who use the recombinant protein vaccines. 3 use the virus vectored vaccines, AstraZeneca, Gamaleya of Russia, and Janssen. And 1 uses the inactivated vaccines, that is Sinovac. So all the others have not applied for clinical trials here, but I think they are negotiating for possible distribution of the vaccines here. Now, also, let me refresh you on the process flow that we follow. These COVID vaccines are very different from the usual EPI vaccines that we have been using for so many years, in that the DOST is involved in the evaluation process. So all of these other vaccines go directly to FDA, but this time, well, COVID is special. So we have initial evaluation done by the Vaccine Expert Panel, which was convened by the DOST. Then we work with the Single Joint Research Ethics Board for the ethical evaluation. And we have these strict timelines to follow. And but if we have questions, the vaccine companies will have to reply to those questions, and the clock stops there. So it's up to them to submit ASAP or impromptu immediately the responses to our queries so that the process could move to final here. The FDA will require longer time to evaluate the clinical trial application, but they will have the final say whether the clinical trial will proceed or not. And that will also give the companies the import license to get the vaccines here in the Philippines. Now, take note, these are only for the evaluation technically and ethically, but we do need to monitor the trial, the implementation itself, And for the Solidarity vaccine trial, we have established a local data safety monitoring board. This is only for the Solidarity trial. And for all other independent clinical trials, the FDA has its own committee that monitors this implementation. But post-marketing, once the vaccines have been given license to be commercialized, to be marketed, then there should be still post-marketing surveillance, which is done by the FDA and the DOH. So again, no, as I have said, we have received 5 independent applications, and we use basically the WHO criteria for vaccines prioritization for this clinical phase 2B to 3 based on safety, efficacy, stability, implementation, and supply. Well, the first two, including stability, are really more technical. But for implementation, we actually leave it to the other agencies of DOH to rank the vaccines or to give preference to certain vaccines depending on, say, ease of implementation and storage conditions, and then scale up of the vaccine supply. So there are so many parameters that we look for. So I just want that for everyone to know that we are doing it very rigorously. So these are the 5 vaccines that we have evaluated so far. Actually, the first one was submitted, I think, sometime in August. That was Sinovac. Then later, the interval was a bit long. And then we received Gamaleya. Actually, in Gamaleya, they resubmitted some data. And then we had Janssen, Clover, and AstraZeneca. Okay, you note here, Sinovac, as I said, is inactivated. They provided animal studies, phases 1 and 2 data, phase 3 study protocol. We're very focused also on the phase 3 study protocol because we want to know what they will be actually doing when they do the implementation here in the Philippines. That's very specific for the Philippines, although they follow global protocols as well. So we look for the informed consent. Usually this is the purview of the ethics board, but very early on, we also require the informed consent. So Sinovac received its technical clearance from us on October 9. But I think they still have some pending requirements with SJREB. So then after that, if they are cleared from SJREB, they will move to FDA for the final approval. Then we have Gamaleya. This is an adenovirus vaccine that has a prime boost regimen using one adenovirus and another one that carry the spike gene sequences. So they have provided us with animal studies, phases 1 and 2 data, but their phase 3 study protocol, the one they submitted, still has some missing information, so we requested that, and the informed consent has not been submitted. So we deferred action pending submission of additional documents. For the Janssen submission, this is also an adenovirus vector-based vaccine carrying the spike gene sequences. So yes, yes, yes to all, but we deferred action because they just submitted the response to our last comments. We had, I think, about two times we sent the comments on balik-balik yun, no? So the response was just last December 2. So we still have to meet again to discuss our final action. Well, if we are satisfied with their responses, we may actually already grant technical clearance so that SJREB can move forward. Then Clover is a subunit vaccine also based on the spike. So yes, yes, yes. We have just technically cleared that. The VEP granted technical clearance last November 24. So I think waiting also for SJREB or FDA approval at this time. And AstraZeneca was the last to submit, but they submitted a lot of data. There, as you know, no, it has been already approved in UK. So they use the chimpanzee adenovirus vector carrying also the spike gene sequences. So all of these were submitted. but we have deferred action pending submission of replies to comments. So until they reply and we are satisfied with the replies, then we have to defer action. So now we are awaiting official scientific interim data from the clinical phase 3 trials. So all of these vaccine companies are conducting the phase 3 trials in other countries. So we want their interim data, much like what Pfizer or Moderna provided, but of course that is over in media. Gamaleya has somehow provided information that they have 92% efficacy with the Sputnik V, but we want the scientific interim data. We cannot rely on what they publish on the internet. So, for updates for the Solidarity vaccine trials, please take note these are different from the independent trials. So the Solidarity trials are supported by WHO, the Department of Science and Technology, and the Department of Health. So we have from 10 initial hospital sites, we have added 4 more. So we have also included regions outside the NCR. Well, of course, Cebu was already included before, but we have now included Davao City, Southern Philippines Medical Center. We have also included Baguio General Hospital and Medical Center because of the increase in cases in the Cordillera Autonomous Region, and we have still included Iloilo. I don't know how the transmission rates have gone, but they are included in the preparations. So for all of this, now this assignment of community sites, so these are what we call the catchment areas or trial sites for the hospital. So they are based in the hospital, but they have to go to the community, or the participants from these communities will have to go to the hospital. So these barangays are identified and being monitored closely by the team, the vaccine teams, together with the Epidemiology Bureau. And what they have chosen is that those barangays who have attack rates of more than 1% or have consistent infections over the past 4 to 6 weeks. So these data are for November 30, 2020. So 8 from Manila, 8 barangays from Manila. Pasay has 4 identified barangays. I don't know which barangays in Taguig, but most of them would be in Fort Bonifacio. Then for Cordillera, from Itogon, Virac and Poblacion, Tubac, Camps 3, Baguio, uh, tatlo or 4, and Escolastica. And then for Davao, they have identified 4 also. So we don't know how this will change over time, but it's not just the number of cases, but if they have been consistent over the past 4 to 6 weeks, and if they can, the higher the better. But of course, in terms of public health, we do not want the case rates to be higher, the attack rates to be higher. Okay, so these are more specific updates. We are saying that the lead hospital is PGH, but each hospital site has a sub-investigator. So these are all medical doctors who are experts in vaccine clinical trials. And but they have also appointed point persons for specific tasks during implementation. So for site selection, for site recruitment, laboratory, for community engagement, and even for documentation, the data capture and so on. Now, laboratory requirements are being completed. So all these cold chain requirements for the possible vaccines that will be tested. Now, all the sites will have to undergo quality assurance in their RT-PCR testing. Then how blood samples will be collected, preserved, and stored. And then we are also preparing for the laboratory supplies, including PPE. There's a lot to complete in terms of the laboratory requirements. Now, some of the the investigators have actually now trained on the Castor Medical Electronic Data Capture System, which will be used for the Solidarity trial. So that is ongoing at this time. So they attend this training on site. And then I am a member of the WHO Scientific steering committee, and we have not come up with the vaccines prioritized for this solidarity, but we are meeting again tonight. So we hope the final list will come out soon. I think it will be around 2 vaccines at least that will be initially tested. And then so that makes maybe the possible start of the Solidarity vaccine trial here in the Philippines by early or mid-January. Actually, this also allows us more time to prepare very well for the actual implementation. There is a country readiness dashboard that has been prepared. So that includes all the names of our principal and sub-investigators. And this dashboard is being tracked real time by WHO. What do we mean by that? How are we doing with our preparations for laboratories, for training on this, and so on? And then, or even the approval, the evaluation process approval from the regulatory agencies. There will be a meeting with the Global Committee on Study Protocol next week on December 8th. So we hope we can finalize the study protocol by then. And then a meeting with the Global Committee on Community Engagement later today will happen around 4:30. And then just to make it, while the global community, there is a committee there, the Global Committee that helps us with community engagement. Actually, community engagements have started with potential trial sites, LGUs, and DOH is helping us with that. And then lastly, Communications Plus, I'd like to emphasize this, that we have this laid out and by the DOH Health Promotions Bureau Communications Team. So I will end with this last slide just to show this is actually from Dr. Bem Ho and her group. So just to make the point that we have to engage everyone, all possible stakeholders, and we have to have these communication plans with their timelines. So we must have one voice, and we should not detract from the very purpose we have for, rolling out the vaccines that will hopefully eventually stop COVID transmission, not only here in the Philippines, but elsewhere around the world. So we are all in this together, and thank you for your attention.
The question of Caroline Bonkin of CNN Philippines. She's asking for an update po sa WHO trial.
Yun na yun. Yun na yun. Yung sinabi ko kanina. That's the most updated information you could get. So we may start by January, hopefully.
From Joviki of Enquirer, once there are a number of candidate vaccines available in the country, can those included in the priority list refuse or choose the vaccines they would get? Will the vaccines be informed that the vaccine they will get is manufactured by X pharma firm?
Well, actually, maybe I can throw that question to you, Rosette. Can they choose? But for me, they should be able to choose. Ma'am, kayo po.
Yes, ma'am. Ang isa po na kasama dito sa mga strategies natin that we will do when we have the vaccines already would be to get the informed consent from each individual that will be given the vaccine. So pagka meron hong informed consent, meron pong impormasyon na ibibigay sa ating mga kababayan, and all of this information regarding the benefits and the effects of this vaccine will be given to them, as well as what kind of vaccine that will be provided for this specific individual. So meron po tayong consent na hihingin at naandun yung karapatan ng isang tao, no, yung right niya para malaman kung ano ibibigay at kung anong pong mga produkto, no, klase ng bakunang ibibigay sa kanila.
Thank you, Yusek. Next question po, Dr. Nina from Sophia Toma Cruz of Rappler. Can the vaccine expert panel request the FDA to review a certain vaccine for EUA? If so, which specific vaccines are being considered? Ma'am?
Okay, actually, for emergency use authorization, didiretso po sila sa FDA, hindi po sa amin. But it is possible for FDA to actually consult us or get some inputs from us. And in fact, one of our members is a member of the FDA vaccine expert panel as well. So nandun po yun. Kasi lahat nung magsusupply, diretso yan sa FDA kasi hindi sila magki-clinical trial. So yung EUA, like Pfizer, sino ba, Moderna, diretso po yan sila sa FDA. Thank you.
Nick, can I add to that?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, so paliwanag lang natin yung dalawang pathways natin for the vaccines, no? So we have one pathway for clinical trials kung saan ang proseso natin, the vaccine expert panel, sila yung unang nag-evaluate, and then kapag okay na, together with the ethics review, it goes through FDA. Pero yung isang pathway natin, hindi na magki-clinical trial, yung mga manufacturers dito, didiretso na sila sa implementation, ano, at bibili ang ating gobyerno sa kanila. And this time, dito magagamit yung emergency use authorization, didiretso sila sa FDA. Ngayon, ayon dun sa executive order na ipinalabas ng Malacanang ng Office of the President, ang FDA is mandated to create a vaccine panel within FDA. So this is different from the vaccine experts panel for the clinical trials. Meron tayong vaccine panel din na bubuin ng FDA sa loob ng kanyang regulatory process. So ito yung dalawang pathways natin para alam natin and we are not confused by that.
Dr. Nina, we have a few questions po from the chat. I will start po with a question of Greg Gregory of TV5. He's asking if AstraZeneca has secured endorsement from BEP already. Dr. Nina?
Yes, actually, it's one of the 5, no? So they have submitted all their technical dossier. We just have a few more comments. And if they respond to that, we should be granting the technical clearance soon. So, konti na lang. They have. Mabilis nga eh.
From Brad Mendoza, Dr. Nina, ano-ano po ang mga additional data na hinihingi commonly ng VEP sa mga manufacturers? Hindi pa po ba ang mga vaccines have already published their phase 1 and 2 trials sa mga journals for peer review?
Okay. So iba po yung publications, no? While most of the data were there, not most, but they should be scientific enough. In fact, some of the published articles have not been peer reviewed. So what we really want to see are technical dossier. So ito po yung nandun talaga yung ginawa, naka-describe, nakasabi kung ilang animals, ano nangyari sa 5 animals o 10 animals, very specific po yung data that we need. So we cannot rely on publications alone, but we use them to some extent. If they get published in yung peer-reviewed scientific journals, mas mataas yung credibility niya. But we need the technical dossier na tinatawag.
Next question po from Joe Vicky in relation to the Solidarity trials. He's asking if WHO informed the government of the cause of the delay. And he's also asking for the final list of candidate vaccines to be used for the trials.
Yeah, I really do not know about the information. Baka alam ni Yusek Rosette. But on our end, we try to explain kasi the vaccine prioritization is taking a long time because they're very careful in choosing which ones. So as I said, I'm a member of the Scientific Steering Committee. So we discuss, so may mga candidate vaccines, actually 5. Then 2 doon yung parang pinaka-promising. But there are still certain issues with those 2. Until ma-resolve yun, then lalabas na. Hopefully, as I said, baka tonight, we will know kasi we have a meeting tonight. So as for the notice, I don't know if DOH has received such notice that there will be some delay.
No notice also for this. They only update us every week when we do our steering committee meeting for clinical trials that they would still need time because of the prioritization of these vaccines and they are really studying it carefully. So yun din lang po ang binibigay na impormasyon sa atin.
Next question po from CNN Philippines, Dr. Nina. Tama po ba na Clover already passed the ethics board review? And how long will it take before the FDA issues a decision on whether they will be allowed to hold trials here?
Okay. May I correct that? Hindi SJREB. Kami, yung VEP, ang nagbigay ng technical clearance. I'm not sure it's yung status niya with SJREB. But I think there should not be any problem now. Kasi parang nahimay-himay na siya eh. So, ano pa nga yung isang ano na nga yung susunod doon? Hindi, ano yung yung issue with the
How
clover?
long will it take before the
How
kung
long?
napass na po ba?
Kung nasa FDA na kasi, they have around 21 to 26 days. Kasi yung ating timeline, di ba, 40 days. Dapat 2 weeks lang sa amin. Tumagal dahil maraming tanong. Kaya, nag-stop yung clock. Pero FDA should be able to act on it in 2 to 3 weeks.
Follow-up po from Aiko Miguel of UNTV. What are the 2 vaccines that will be used for the WHO trial?
I cannot say that at this point. Until it becomes official, hindi pwede pong sabihin. Pero nasa radar natin. Yun na lang ang pwede ko sabihin. Ibig sabihin, napag-aralan na rin namin ng BEP. Kaya hindi tayo masyado matatagalan in evaluation.
On WHO SVT, since Dr. Nina discussed it in her presentation, the 2 candidate vaccines being considered for use, are these leading vaccines that already released their data, or are these candidate vaccines that still need more data?
Actually, leading vaccines na to kasi kailangan nasa advanced stage sila to be considered. So, pero hindi ko masasabi kung nag-apply ba sa atin o hindi until the official announcement from WHO.
The question of Fred Mendoza of the Manila Times. Can the DOH confirm that the SJEB has recommended AstraZeneca's vaccine into the FDA panel, as mentioned by PCHRD Director Montoya in an interview on Wednesday? Bakit parang ang bilis naman po ng approval while Clover and Sinovac are still stuck in the ethics board panel review?
Red, kailangan natin maintindihan yung process, no? So we have a pathway as we have explained before, and we said that every applicant for these vaccine clinical trials goes through this pathway na ang una nilang step would be the vaccine expert panel in parallel with the ethics review board. So kapag tinignan natin, kahit na magkasabay ang proseso ng ethics at saka ng vaccine expert panel, kapag dun sa isang proseso hindi siya makapag-comply dun sa mga pangangailangan, hindi siya mag-aabante papunta dun sa FDA na proseso. Kailangan cleared ka ng vaccine expert panel at saka ng ethics review board bago ka makapasok sa FDA process. So this is what happened. Clover might have been, the AstraZeneca, might have been cleared already by the ethics review board, pero kung meron pa siyang kulang sa vaccine expert panel, hindi siya pwede mag-go through the process of FDA. It has to be that approved ka ng vaccine expert panel at saka approved ka ng ethics review board for you to advance to the FDA process. So ganun, no? So wala tayong unahan dito. Kailangan lang maintindihan natin, hindi lang po ang control ay nasa atin dito sa country natin. It also depends on how fast these manufacturers or our bilateral partners will respond to the questions or to the requested documents by the Philippine government. Unfortunately, nakikita natin meron tayong konting delay, no, sa pag-respond ng ating partners and manufacturers na kasama nila dito po sa mga sinasagawa natin at hinihingi natin ng mga requirements.
From Caroline Bonkin of CNN Philippines, she's asking po kung ilan na existing 2 to 8 degree vaccine storage sa DOH and government health facilities.
Well, we have the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine as our main hub, no? Para dito sa existing vaccine supplies natin for the National Immunization Program. Meron tayo dyan 4, no, na cold rooms na malalaki with a size of 173.36 cubic meters. Tama ba yun? M3. But anyway, ito yung ginagamit natin ngayon for our existing NIP supplies. And this can be able to accommodate millions of vaccines katulad ng mga pinoprocure natin taon-taon sa mga iba't ibang bakunang meron tayo ngayon.
Thank you, ma'am. From Gabby Parlade of the Daily Tribune. Granted that vaccine firms will only be submitting their application for emergency use authorization, can the DOH clarify if the government is entitled to release any funds for this initial procurement or kung may iba pang necessary payments that will have to be settled?
Iba't iba ang sources of financing mechanisms natin, Gabi. Para dito sa vaccines, alam kasi natin yung cost mataas, marami tayong kailangan. So nag-tap tayo ng ibang sources of financing. So we have our multilateral partners like World Bank and ADB na sila ay na-tap natin, not just because of the assistance that we need, but also because of their more flexible terms, no, when it comes to financing. Because alam natin that some of the vaccine manufacturers are asking us for advanced commitments. And we know that we have that limitation because of our procurement law. So kaya nga na-tap natin sila, and we are now currently negotiating and trying to finalize our agreements with World Bank and ADB so that we can be able to assign to them those that will require this kind of financing na hindi po kaya because of certain limitations in the law by the Philippine government. Basta po yung sa atin, yung procurement o law gives us that flexibility. Nandyan naman po yan dun sa IRR ng procurement na kapag ka World Bank or any other multilateral bank ang ginamit natin, maari po natin magkaroon ng flexibility na ganito. So, yun po, yung kasing JEA natin na pera, bound yan by the procurement law. So, we have to explore additional or extra means of financing, and there would be flexible terms for that.
Next question po from Dr. Lulu Bravo of the Philippine Foundation for Vaccination earlier said that as early as now, information drive regarding the benefits of receiving a vaccine should have already started by the government, as many are still hesitant to be part of the immunization program given the incident with the Dengbangsha issue. I understand the Department of Health has already started this initiative, but may we get updates na lang po on this? And how exactly are we cascading the information to communities in far-flung areas? Ma'am?
Yes, when the vaccine czar was assigned officially by the Office of the President, there were structures that were kind of revised. Specific na siya ngayon sa mga bakuna, yung ibang structures na binuo. And one of this would be the assistance of the PCOO and the Philippine Information Agency dito sa sinasagawa natin na communications plan for the vaccine. So, meron na tayong existing communications plan. Nakipagtrabaho na tayo ngayon with PCOO and the PIA para mas wider ang reach natin and mas magkaroon tayo ng robust na pagko-communicate sa public. So, dati, yung sa WHO, na umpisahan po natin yung local government officials, nakipag-upo tayo with them, we explained to them, na ibigay natin yung mga identified na initial na mga lugar for the trial ng vaccines for WHO. And this is actually very similar to what we are going to do with this deployment plan for vaccines. So sa ngayon po, may schedule na tayo na by the third week of this month, December, we will start our rounds of local government officials meetings, para lang po magkaroon tayo ng initial talk and ma-level off natin ng expectations, may paliwanag natin kung ano yung mga gagawin natin, may paliwanag natin kung ano yung magiging specific roles and what would be expected from them when we start our deployment of vaccines. After nyan, meron na rin po tayong schedules for community engagement because we were able to talk with the local governments already. Mag-uumpisa na ho tayo by January, First week of January, we will do community mobilization already. And of course, kasama po dito sa ginagawa natin yung everyday na pagsasagot natin and pagpapaalala sa ating mga kababayan regarding this upcoming na mga bakuna na ipapatupad natin dito sa ating bansa.
From Joviki of Enquirer, will DOST's positive findings on VCO, will DOH recommend its use for those in the isolation centers, or more studies will be needed to make such a recommendation? Given the public's propensity to self-medicate, what is the DOH message to those who may think that this is the magic pill to treat COVID-19 symptoms?
Yes. Salamat, Jovit, dyan sa tanong mo, para makapagpaalala tayo sa ating mga kababayan. In spite of the results, of the initial results actually, of VCO dito sa unang study na ginawa ng Department of Science and Technology, kailangan pa ho natin ng further study para makapagbigay ng sapat na ebidensya para masabi natin na katanggap itong VCO as an adjunct therapy for COVID-19. So alalahanin po natin, adjunct therapy means it will support the treatment for COVID-19 pero hindi siya gamot para pigilan niya kung ikaw ay magkakaroon ng COVID-19 or hindi. Hindi rin siya gamot na talagang natuklasan at may ebidensya na makakapagpatigil kung may COVID-19 o wala na. Suporta po siya dun sa gamutan ng COVID-19. At sa ngayon, isasagawa pa lang po and it will run until, it started off in June, it will run until May. Ito pong adjunctive therapy naman para sa mga pasyenteng nasa ospital. Okay, so kailangan nating kumpletuhin lahat ng pag-aaral bago po tayo magkaroon ng rekomendasyon na isasama po natin ito as part of the adjuncts to therapy of COVID-19. Nick?
Thank you, ma'am. That is the last question submitted yesterday. Ma'am, do you still have time po to answer a few from the chat box?
Sige, Nick.
There is a question po from Greg that is related to Red's question po with regard to the DOH reminder to the public regarding IATF statements allowing workshops, trainings, etc. in GCQ areas.
Well, ganun naman lagi ang ating paalala pa rin, that we comply with the minimum public health standards. So kung sakasakali po na meron pong mga ganitong events na mangyayari as a based from the IATF resolution, kailangan lang po natin laging alalahanin, no? Unang-una, alam natin na nandyan pa rin yung virus. Kahit po na pinapayagan na yung mga ganitong mga activities, kailangan cautious and vigilant pa rin tayo. Pag pumunta tayo sa mga ganyang event, kailangan naka-face mask, naka-face shield, meron tayong distansya sa ating mga katabi, and sana po well-ventilated yung mga areas na pagdadausan itong mga pinapayagan natin ng mga ganitong activities. And most importantly, kung kaya pa rin ng virtual, of course, that would be more acceptable for us at mas nire-recommenda natin dahil po dito, may iwasan po natin talaga ang paghahawa-hawa ng ating mga kababayan. Nick?
Thank you, ma'am. From Joe Vicky as well, USEC acting NEDA Chief Carl Chua was quoted as saying the Philippines would likely remain under community quarantine for the whole of 2021. Is it prudent for such an announcement to be made, given that a significant portion of the population is already experiencing fatigue? Wouldn't this just cause people to become complacent?
Unang-una, hindi po natin alam kung ano yung konteksto on how Secretary Carl was discussing or ano yung ba yung pinapaliwanag niya na nakapagbitaw siya ng ganitong salita. Although syempre pinag-aaralan po natin lahat ng nangyayari sa atin ngayon. What I can say would be nothing is certain at this point, no? So hindi po natin alam sa araw-araw na meron tayo ngayon, pinag-aaralan natin maigi kung ano ang mga posibleng mangyari. The milestones na tinitignan po ng gobyerno, would that be by next year dapat, no? Ang milestone is dapat even by the second quarter of the year, ang hope po ng Philippine government, ang goal natin, lahat ng LGU ay MGCQ na tayo, no? So ma-lower na natin. So how do we now attain that? So doon sa milestones na atin pong itinalaga, nakalagay doon na dapat by the end of this year, lahat po ng local governments would be able to achieve their gatekeeping indicators. So what are these gatekeeping indicators? Surveillance, contact tracing, isolation, testing, and all. Bakit ba natin kailangan yun? Pagka nakita natin na ang isang local government capable na siya with all, no, of these gatekeeping components of their system, ibig sabihin capable na siya, no, to be able to manage any kind of increase in cases in their area. Ganon din ang gusto natin makita sa ating kabuuan ng health system. So yun yung ating mga basihan. Kapag ka nabuo na natin with among all local governments that we see that they're capable because they've complied with their gatekeeping indicators, and also our health system capacity is at that low risk, and then maybe by the second quarter of next year, we can all shift into this MGCQ. And hopefully, as the months progress after the second quarter, all of us can shift to this new normal na sinasabi natin. Pero ang sinasabi nga natin sa ngayon, wala pa hong kasiguruhan, nothing is certain, we cannot be complacent at this point. Tuloy-tuloy pa rin po nating ipatupad yung minimum public health standards.
Thank you, ma'am. From Mark Fetalco po, ano po ang last resort ng gobyerno sakaling ma-overwhelm na naman ang healthcare system ng bansa ngayong holiday season dahil sa pagtaas ng kaso?
pag sinabi mong last resort, Mark, ano ba yan? Talagang punong-puno na ba ang lahat? Siyempre, meron po tayo mga tinatawag na mga measures na in place at pinagpe-prepare natin para po tayo ay hindi naman dumating dyan sa mga ganyang punto sa ating kapasidad ng health system. Nag-umpisa na po tayo last week sa mga pag-meet with the different stakeholders. Nakipag-meet na po tayo sa Health Professionals Alliance Against COVID-19, yung HPAC. We met with our technical advisory group members nung isang linggo rin po at saka kahapon nakipag-meet kami with scientists and mathematicians para magkaroon na tayo ng projections as to the numbers, possible numbers kung sakasakali na magkaroon tayo ng surge. We also met with the National Task Force. We also met with the regional offices. Nagbigay na po kami ng mga guidelines at saka kung ano ang kailangan nilang gawin kung sakasakaling magkaroon ng surge na tinatawag natin come January because of this coming holiday season. So we are trying to prepare our hospitals. We are trying to prepare our TTMFs. We want to have this engagement with the local governments already para po lahat tayo handa. Pero hindi lang po dapat gobyerno ang naghahanda. Kailangan bawat individual handa rin, kailangan bawat individual nag-iingat din para po hindi tayo dumating dito po sa sinasabing possible surge come January kung hindi po natin maiiwasan itong mga pagkakadami ng tao sa malls, pagtutumpukan sa mga iba't ibang public places, ang pinagbabalaan na po tayo ng ating mga eksperto na maaari tayong dumating dito sa punto na magsusurge talaga ang kaso pagdating po ng January.
This is also related to the question of Lanesca Panti. Let me just read the question, ma'am. Reaction po regarding Senator Ontiveros initiating a probe regarding health workers' delayed hazard pay and SRA. Ano na po ba ang update regarding sa benefits ng mga PHW?
Ito naman ay lahat inaayos natin. Ang nagiging issue siguro, merong mga confusion. Kasi yung Bayanihan 1, may specific date lang na dapat maipatupad ito at saka may specific lang na healthcare workers na magkakaroon itong benepisyo na ito. Nakalagay specific dyan, directly caring dun sa mga COVID-19 patients. Tapos may specific date siya ng implement na pumasok on duty ang mga workers na to. That was March 15 to May 16. So yung iba kasi, nung tinignan namin, katulad nung iba pong naghain ng mga reports nila, na hire sila beyond those dates. Kaya hindi sila mabibigyan talaga nitong benefits. Pero dito sa Bayanihan 2, covered na po sila. At ito naman po, nung pinalabas na yung AO number 35 and 36, pinabana namin po ang pera namin sa mga regional offices para maisakatuparan na po itong mga pagbibigay ng hazard pays at saka yung special risk allowance. So kami po ay patuloy pa rin binibigyang pansin at saka ina-address po natin itong mga issues natin on the pays of our healthcare workers because we value naman po itong kanilang mga roles dito sa ating ginagawa sa response. So bigyan lang po ng konting panahon pa ang ating mga ospital dahil unang-una yung iba pa hong nakalagay doon sa Bayanihan Law, kailangan kunin sa savings ng ospital. Ang naging problema po ng ating mga ospital because of this pandemic, nagagastos po nila yung mga savings nila kasi ang daming pangangailangan ng ating mga pasyente. Kaya nga po ang move ng department noon, magbaba kami ng pera sa kanila, which we were able to do already. So ibibigay po lahat yan, inaayos po natin lahat. Ayaw din po natin na nagkakaroon ng ganitong delays. We're trying as much as possible para po maiayos natin lahat the soonest possible time.